This is one program a lot of conservatives do not admire, and it's called The View. In this video, we're going to be checking out The View panics over Trump's polls crushing Biden's. Let's get to it.
In the presidential primary calendar, March 4th, March 25th, March 20th. A judge has yet to set the date for Trump and his 18 co-defendants in the Georgia. It's now May 20th. So I'm happy to talk about polls and where people fall when I see that first trial. I'm happy to talk about it then. But until then, nobody needs to be talking about how Biden is doing or anything like that.
Actually,
Go ahead.
I don't know that we're going to see those trial dates exactly like that, because I think he's going to ask for continuances, and there's going to be delays because of the presidential primary. I don't know what happened with this ABC poll. I don't know if the people asking the questions were high or the people answering the questions were high. But somebody has got to have been on some edibles or something else, because this poll is just off the charts. That does not mean that there's not huge red flags here. And what I do know is that you cannot take the Hispanic vote for granted because you're running against a racist. You can't take the woman vote for granted because you're running against a sexual harasser and sexual assaulter. You can't take the black vote for granted because you're running against a racist. You can't take the gay vote for granted because you're voting against a party that wants to ban drag queens.
What's she
you
talking
can't
about
take the
right now?
intelligentsia vote for granted because you're running against a party that wants to ban books. The only way to run is to run hard, and I think Joe Biden needs to look at this poll, not be afraid of it, but yes, learn from it. People need to feel that the economy is better. The economy is better. Yeah. 2 stronger years of job growth. But it's not enough to say it. People need to feel it.
I have a legal note. Nobody at ABC that was conducting the poll was high. I'm just doing what I'm told to do.
But can I say this? Are you finished?
I will finish my thought. Well, now you
I'm sorry.
walked all over it, so I'm just gonna. That's all right. We're going to break. We'll be right back.
Well, if that wasn't whistling past the graveyard, I don't know what is. That wasn't even remotely convincing. I mean, as you can see, the panic is clearly palatable with the ladies at The View. That was so bad. That segment was so cringeworthy to watch. I love that Sunny Hostin and her stages of grief, right? Don't tell me about the polls. Don't tell me about the polls until Trump's trials have started. Yeah, because the indictments in the mugshot worked out so well for you. I mean,
Even helps Trump.
Delusional. And then you've got that vile, vicious Ana Navarro, who just spewed out that racist, sexist, bigoted nonsense. Keep in mind that answer, or better, that non-answer that she gave, wasn't improvised. She's looking at her notes when she's delivering that dribble. She actually prepared that answer. And that's what she came
So that's what she was looking at, like a teleprompter.
up with. That patent cultural Marxist
You're right there.
nonsense. And keep in mind, these mindless liberals are so desperate that they actually threw their own network, ABC, under the bus for that poll. I mean, did they even realize what they did? I mean, embarrassing doesn't even begin to describe it. Now, unfortunately for these borderline illiterates over at The View, it is not just the ABC Washington Post poll. Again, they're really living up to their reputation as the single most mind-numbingly dim-witted panelists on the planet. But what they show themselves totally ignorant of is that it's not just the ABC Washington Post poll that's showing results like that. I mean, NBC News Heart Research poll has Trump +3. Harris Messenger has Trump +5. The 52 to 42 Trump lead is big, but it's not out there as these simpletons at The View would like their dwindling audience to believe. Again, we're seeing it in the Real Clear Politics aggregate polling. When you average out all the polls thus far, Trump is leading Biden by nearly 2. In all of the last 8 polls, Trump is either tied or leading with Biden. I mean, there's no way around this. Again, keep in mind, in all of these polls, ABC, NBC, Emerson, Harvard, Harris, Fox, Quinnipiac, in all of these polls, Trump never even came close to being tied with Biden in 2020. Forget taking the lead. This same ABC Washington Post poll is the one that gave Biden a 17-point lead in Wisconsin in 2020. Their polling in September of 2019 had Biden beating Trump by 15 freaking points. What do you think the ladies at The View were saying back then?
It was
their
reasonable.
Their final
right?
2020 poll was Biden plus 12. It's because they consistently oversampled the Democrats. And yet, despite that, ABC Washington Post is getting Trump a double-digit lead. In fact, when you compare all these polls with where Biden and Trump stood in October 2020, they've all swung by double digits in Trump's direction. It literally doesn't matter what poll you're looking at. Morris, Emerson, Quinnipiac, CNN, Fox, they all show a double-digit swing to Trump. And if you wanted to know why the legacy media is having increasing bouts of unhinged meltdowns, take a look at this. This, according to the polls, is what the electoral map looks like right now. If the election were held today, it would be an electoral landslide. Trump would beat Biden with upwards of 312 electoral votes right now as we speak. And it's got a number of woke leftists absolutely panicked. If the ladies at The View are trying to play it cool, wait until you see what one of the most prominent members of the leftist media is saying. This is going to absolutely blow your mind. The ABC Washington Post poll is presenting itself to be remarkably resistant to scrutiny. Its sampling was 25% Democrat, 25% Republican, and 42% independent. The poll showing a decisive 13-point lead for Trump among independents, 52 to 39, which is comparable to Trump's lead with independents among other polls. The vast majority of Democrats, 60%, want to see someone else other than Biden as their nominee, whereas most Republicans are totally fired up to vote for Trump, so the enthusiasm gap is huge.
There are speculations that Michelle Obama is going to replace Trump, that Trump might step down because of health and cognitive issues. Completely speculative, but hasn't been confirmed yet. Somebody just released a book, Michelle Obama 2024. Let me know what you think about that. I don't know if she can beat Trump, but it's gonna be a tough one for Trump. Might be, don't know.
Trump is actually winning among Latino voters in this Washington Post poll, which is an outlier.
Latinos for Trump.
But even the Washington Post itself is admitting that Trump is seeing levels of minority support no Republican has reached in half a century. And so this is why some of the more prominent members of the woke media are really starting to absolutely freak out. Case in point, look at this panic coming from the Young Turks' Jake Uyghur. Look at this. Mr. President, you're going to lose to Trump. We're begging you to step down. I mean, he's literally saying what the illiterates at The View want to say, but their producers at ABC won't let them. I mean, this is panic on steroids. Here's how he starts his piece. Quote, the old rule about incumbents was that if they're under 50 points in approval, they're toast. President Joe Biden is under 40. There's almost no chance he's going to win. I've never heard of an incumbent polling under 40 points who went on to win re-election. When it comes to Joe Biden, 3 in 6 recent polls had him in the 30s. And one recent poll, President Biden was at an abysmal 32%. Sorry, but that's unrecoverable. You're just telling yourself sweet little lies if you think he can win with those numbers. I know what everyone in Washington is going to say next, but that's not fair. He passed so many bills. No one has passed as much legislation since Grover Cleveland or something. He passed a semiconductor bill. I got bad news for you if you're a Democrat. No one cares about the semiconductor bill or any of the bills that helped his donors so much, and coincidentally, a couple of other Americans as well. Even if you love those bills, no American even knows about them. On the other hand, if you're a Republican, Biden is a godsend, especially if you're MAGA. And he goes on to just implore, to plead with Biden's people, you have got to step aside. Jenkins, he's under the extremely misguided opinion that Biden is actually the only person that Trump can beat. Any other Democrat could take Trump out. Of course, I can't think of any objective piece of evidence that would even remotely indicate an extreme position like that. But regardless, Cenk is an admission of the panic that's setting in among
some people are saying Kamala Harris can do better and compete with Trump. I kind of doubt that.
Democrats. Look, he knows no one reads Newsweek anymore, so he tweeted this out. I mean, seriously, gang, look at how panicked this comes across. There is no serious person in politics who doesn't realize that Biden would lose to Trump if the election were held today. In fact, right now, it would be an electoral landslide, and yet no other Democratic politician in the country has the courage to challenge him. Cowards!
Why do you sound like that?
I mean, they're
Dr.
freaking
Turley?
out, gang. They're seeing the polls. Trump is surging. Biden is collapsing. Cenk is having a meltdown. And no amount of wishful thinking is going to change that. Hey, gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent...
Okay, I think that's all for it. That was an ad he was about to go into. I'll put the link to the channel in the description as I always do, so please feel free to go check him out. But that was an interesting point. I don't know why people always say if they change Biden, any other person can beat Trump by a landslide. Have you looked at the Republican side? There are formidable opponents in the Republican side, but even with that, Trump is still way up there. Vivek Ramaswamy, a lot of people are saying he's not a politician and he's not this, he's not that. I mean, you can say anything you want about Vivek Ramaswamy, but he is very good at politicking. He's playing politics even better than DeSantis. Even with that, Trump is still way up there and Vivek is trying to catch up. I don't think he will though. So who can you really put in position? I mean, if you're replacing Biden, who can you put in that position to compete or beat Donald Trump? I don't know. A lot of people are saying maybe RFK. RFK to me is kind of like in the middle. There's a thing like generalist. I think that's what RFK would be. He's not really liberal to me. He's not even conservative. He's human. That's how I see RFK. It's just like right in the middle. So if RFK was president, I mean, it's fair, right? But can he compete with Trump? Very unlikely. So who? Let me know what you think about that. If there's anything you want to add, correct or critique, please feel free to do so. That being said, it's the end of this one. Smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a wonderful day. Peace.